Amoakwaba Eddie Abba, your most authoritative late afternoon show. Now, when you say ene dastronko, and then so that Tridian Punyakopo Eddie Amaya is another day the Lord has made. We should rejoice and be glad in it. You were just about 14 days to election 2020 now. We heard said the Nyoma hit up. Ewo omeimu your political space no more anode papa 60 minutes inside 2 higher sempana 4.7 Ekosiisen adwumadi na sabre yatena se ayede ebramo na otwene ama nya wansan se enei the first ever presidential debate yahyehe ewo multimedia hanum se Adom FM Asempa FM Adom TV Show FM ene de bebro nti dwumadi emeju baba kopem bra no numbebo na fe yede debate no atwa so akopem no nkono se de yahye mobo no Philip Sebos wo ha nemom ene me na me di dwumadi no ho chia me ansana no the National Democratic Party NDP led by Nana Akufo-Addo Ajman Rawlings press conference actually say so ahwemu information bi Abraham ho anu ye bi ne namu say no question ya no for the first time the former president John Rawlings wu ye no omo address president yenko na yenko tie ye ba de aka kire bia de bema ho e wo Asempa 4.7 so.
And sympathizers are still campaigning and should remain resolute. Indeed, we intend not to glorify the well wishes of the well wishes or the wishes of the of our detractors. Friends of the media, the story of Jerry John Rawlings is inseparable from that of his wife and our leader, Nana Akufo-Addo Ajman Rawlings. She is the mother of his children. She is his love, his friend, his soulmate, his partner, his pillar, his counselor, and his defender. And he too was all these and more to her. Their hopes and their fears were shared, and together they shaped his political life and his impact on our dear country. She believed in him, and he believed in her. They believed in and held on to each other without reservation. Their loyalty to each other was there for all to see. They began their lives together as teenagers at Achimota School almost 60 years ago. They embraced each other in spite of any shortcomings they might have seen in each other. Over the years, some people came and went. Some went and came. But through it all, Nana Akufo-Addo stood by Jerry John Rawlings. They survived near-death experiences during the tumultuous periods of Ghana's political history. She stood by him even in the darkest moments of May 1979, when President Rawlings came close to being executed. She was with him through the events of the June 4th, 1979 uprising. She stood by him through the 31st December 1981 revolution, which culminated in the birth of the PNDC. And she was also right at the very center of the founding of the NDC. If Jerry Rawlings is the father of the NDC, then indeed Mrs. Rawlings is both the midwife and mother of the NDC. The 31st December Women's Movement, which she founded, became a formidable women's group that helped to propel the NDC to victory both in 1992 and 1996 general elections. Indeed, if there was ever anyone who embodies Jerry John Rawlings' essence in his absence, it is none other than Mrs. Nana Akufo-Addo Ajman Rawlings. And so, we mourn with her in this separation. Therefore, now more than ever, Mrs. Rawlings needs the support of all true cadres of the revolution, believers of the enduring principles of Jerry John Rawlings, and all well-meaning Ghanaians. We in the NDP commiserate with our leader and the entire Rawlings family on their loss and assure them of our unflinching support in these difficult moments. Our party structures across the country will fully participate in the national events to be outlined in celebration of the life of this great statesman. Attempts to desecrate Rawlings' legacy before his death. Ladies and gentlemen, some curious events in the past few days have come to our attention, which show clearly that there are attempts by some elements to desecrate the legacy and the name of President Rawlings even upon his demise. These acts are being perpetrated by persons who have shown a desire to constantly humiliate Jerry John Rawlings and his family even when he was alive. It is worth noting that these deliberate orchestrations to humiliate the Rawlings family began long ago. It began right from the period when certain individuals, many of whom were direct beneficiaries of the revolution that Jerry John Rawlings led and the party that he formed at the peril of his life, felt the need to use their temporary hold on the leadership of NDC to relegate him to the background in order to capture the juicy fruits born from his sacrifices. They have tried to harvest where they have not planted. For the past decade, these elements, led principally by the Ahoys and the Mahama group within the NDC, orchestrated a series of coordinated attacks aimed at destroying the legacy of Jerry John Rawlings. This they did by sponsoring political neophytes, JJ himself aptly described as babies with sharp teeth, to unleash barrages of insult and spew damning political rhetoric on the persons of Mr. and Mrs. Rawlings. Even the eventual ostracization of Mr. and Mrs. Rawlings from the NDC was inadequate to appease them. As recently as this year, Professor J. Nana Opoku Ajeman, the running mate of the NDC, wrote the foreword of a book by Professor Kwame Ahoy, which was aimed at destroying legacy of Jerry John Rawlings. Indeed, in the weeks leading up to his demise, President Rawlings made it clear to all those he had meetings with
Ekosiisen on
that he was extremely heartbroken that neither the leadership of the NDC nor the executives had made any statement in defense of the founder, nor to correct the lies in the book, Working with Rawlings. Today, the political henchmen who were utilized for such diabolic assignments have been rewarded with high positions in the NDC. And John Mahama and those who picked up the baton are also expecting big posts under a Mahama government. Those who produce forewords of books that cast the founder of the party in bad light are hoping to occupy the highest position in government on the ticket of the party, which was formed through the sweat and blood of Jerry John Rawlings. What did Rawlings do to warrant such disrespect from the NDC under the leadership of John Mahama? All Rawlings did was to be a voice of conscience, reminding them of his enduring principles of probity, accountability, and anti-corruption. Creeds the NDC under John Mahama blatantly disregarded when they assumed the reins of power. As a result, they sought to silence him so as to prevent him from publicly repudiating them for their unprecedented levels of corruption. We are troubled that some of these same persons, upon the demise of President Rawlings, now seek to lead in mourning the man. They have begun to shed crocodile tears. They spent thousands of dollars to sponsor videos made in Washington, D.C. by one Kelvin Taylor, who is tipped to be information minister in the event of a Mahama comeback, to insult President Rawlings in words, some of which we dare not repeat, and posted them all over the world through Facebook, WhatsApp, and other social media platforms. With the apparent endorsement of John Mahama, and NDC leadership, Kelvin Taylor said, and I quote, "Rawlings is a modern-day Judas and a hypocrite. He and his sleazy wife are greedy. He behaves as a lapdog to the MPP government and always kisses the ass of Nana Akufo-Addo anytime he gets opportunity to speak about corruption." He also went on to say, and I quote, "J.J. Rawlings is not God. He is bad news and a modern-day Judas, and such a man does not even deserve to be a statesman. J.J. Rawlings is a coward. You are a hypocrite and a disgrace on the lap of a midget." These actions were deliberate and orchestrated by the Mahama-led NDC to hurt Jerry Rawlings and kill his soul, even when he was alive. And now, the NDC, which was fighting over a book of condolence, ended up restating their contempt for President Rawlings by using a reception logbook as a book of condolence at their party office. We want to serve notice that the NDP will make it a point to expose those who are making feverish attempts to rewrite their despicable opinions about President Rawlings and readjust their abhorrence for the man after all the sacrifices he made for them. And now, upon his demise, they are seeking the limelight for more personal political gain. How dare they? If John Mahama managed to profit from the death of President Mills, he should not be allowed to do same with the demise of our beloved President Rawlings, and Ghanaians should not and will not oblige him that. The hypocrisy of the NDC.
Ekosiisen on Asempa FM.
When Jerry Rawlings was alive, John Mahama so desperately wanted to silence him. And now that JJ is no more, John Mahama finds it expedient to utilize his death to galvanize support for his weakening base within the NDC rank and file and the country at large to salvage his 2020 campaign, which is going nowhere. Suddenly, the individuals in the NDC under the current leadership of John Mahama, who publicly vilified Jerry John Rawlings, have rediscovered a new voice proclaiming themselves to be the true adherents of his ideals. Those who publicly describe JJ using unpleasant words such as calling him a barking dog are now hailing him. Why? In what was widely reported by media outlets in Ghana, John Mahama, during the NDC's unity walk in Ho, in the Volta region in 2018, was on record to have labeled J.J. Rawlings as a Volta god with a small g, who did not deserve to be worshipped by Voltarians. In fact, he's quoted as saying, "We have worshipped the Volta god for so long. It is time to build a party beyond individuals. No sacrifice will please him." This was a classic situation where John Mahama made a futile attempt to turn Voltarians against their hero.
On Asempa FM.
It did not end there. Voltarians who felt they were going to be safe under the leadership of John Mahama were given the shock of their lives when Mahama deliberately sponsored candidates to remove all Voltarians from the leadership of the NDC during the national executive elections. Today, there's not a single Voltarian elected to a substantive position, not even as a deputy, in the Mahama's NDC. Today, the same Mahama who admonished Voltarians against what he claimed as worshipping of the Volta god is frantically exploiting the death of the same Volta god to salvage his failing political ambitions. It is too late. The most unfortunate aspect of this development is that, in an attempt to unduly benefit from his demise, the leadership of the NDC are embroiled in a desperate battle against the state and the Rawlings family over who has the right to conduct the funeral rites of the late president, whom they have so much maligned. What they do not know, or perhaps have deliberately overlooked, is the fact that they are robbing the late president of a befitting send-off. Or maybe that is what they want. They desperately want to reduce the send-off from a befitting state burial to a party funeral just so they can benefit politically. The wishes of President Rawlings. This brings us to the point where we examine the wishes of President Rawlings. It is an important exercise that true believers and cadres of his ideals must conduct, because honoring his wishes in his absence is precisely what is needed to honor him and his legacy. In doing so, I will ask a few questions that should get us to ponder over the man and his wishes. Would JJ have wished for the current crop of NDC leaders to conduct his funeral rites? The answer is no, because in Keta, for his mother's funeral, he was visibly pained and made his hurt known to John Mahama and NDC for turning the solemn ceremony into an NDC event. This was all captured on video. Would he have wished for Voltarians to support a leader who said Voltarians were treating him as if he was the Volta God? The answer is no. Would he have wished for the cadres of the revolution to support a running mate who edited and produced a foreword of a book that desecrates his legacy, and by extension, the legacy of all those who sacrificed for our nation? The answer is no. Would we have wished for Mahama to continue leading the party and driving it further away from the principles and values on which he built the party? The answer is no. JJ, in an interview with Ekosiisen on Asasi Radio on 12 July 2020, categorically stated that he voted for his wife, Nana Konadu Edmund Rawlings, in the 2016 presidential election. When he was alive, he chose not to be part of John Mahama's 2020 campaign, and it would be disingenuous to seek to make him a part of the campaign now that he's gone. Much more so to link his funeral to the same party's activities. So, ladies and gentlemen, the 2020 elections are due in a matter of weeks, but JJ is gone. However, ask yourself as a cadre or a comrade, ask yourself as you mourn his person, ask yourself as someone who shared the pain that Mahama and his supporters inflicted on JJ when he was alive. Ask yourself as someone who believes in what JJ stood for. Would JJ want to vote for a candidate that he thought was not fit to lead the party that he, JJ, founded? As a matter of fact, Jerry John Rawlings was eager to see Mahama lose in the 2020 elections because he believed Mahama and his cohorts had departed from the very ideals of probity and accountability upon which the NDC was formed. When Mahama was elected as the flag bearer of the NDC for the 2020 general elections, JJ was blunt about Mahama's intentions. According to JJ, Mahama's intentions are not to win the 2020 general elections. His intentions are to simply hijack the NDC with his money in an attempt to show up again as the party's flag bearer in 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, we can foresee NDC losing this election, and 2021-2022 ushering in a new era for the soul and control of the NDC. That fight is inevitable. John Mahama has ironically themed his 2020 campaign a rescue mission. This is ironic because many die-hard activists who mean well for the NDC are waiting for an opportunity after the John Mahama's defeat 2 weeks from now to begin in earnest the mission to rescue the NDC from John Mahama and the Ahoys. Our message to all those true Rawlings loyalists and disgruntled disciples of probity and accountability is this: join the NDP now and let's work together to honor what JJ believed in.
Asempa FM.
Ladies and gentlemen, clearly, if you are a true believer in JJ, you cannot honor his memory by choosing a candidate who, together with backers, sowed discord between JJ and the party he founded and worked hard to discredit Mrs. Rawlings, his lifelong defender, partner, counselor, pillar, friend, confidant, comrade, and soulmate. As promised, we will call you again to update you on our presidential bid. But definitely, we will not glorify our detractors. Finally, we would like to the entire members of the Rawlings, Agbochi, and other affiliated families in Accra and Keta to know that They are in our thoughts and prayers.
Ekosiisen
We wish to thank them and his wife and children for sharing J.J. Rawlings with the whole country and the NDP. We thank him for his support for our party. Our final message goes to Mrs. Rawlings. We say stay strong as J.J. would have liked you to be. As always, his soul will continue to protect you. Thank you. God bless you. Long live the legacy of Rawlings. Long live the revolution. Long live our leader. Long live the NDP. Thank you very much. My name, I'm Alhaji Mohammed Frempong, the General Secretary of NDP.
Asempa FM. Asempa FM.
My name is Alhaji Mohammed Frempong, the General Secretary of National Democratic Party. But as a matter of fact, NDP, we have General Secretaries with the title Secretary General. So I am indeed the Secretary General of the National Democratic Party. Thank you very much.
Asempa FM.
Yes, I'll take them. Okay.
Asempa FM.
Good afternoon, once.
I don't see Alhaji Mohammed Frempong, our Secretary General at the National Democratic Party NDP, and what say what they and some who to dra. I just say Ninsama Obobosono, CSC Chrim Abonitofa Eddie Amawa. What you say, so we share NDP amanyuko ye Nana Kunedward Marolins nete na no kreni nyamienim obeka ede efri emfinhia be se duesie ni a Nana Kunedward Marolins ene eye nikunu flight lieutenant John Rollins awanya ne ba bi ko na chese wono mabobra na yeka obi a sabe oji yemampenda da awanya ne ba bi ko woji na koma so ade ni so ade hunu na dwempo the principles atumu a ujimi nkofo bi fufuro bia apart from ne yire esanse amanyoko NDC mpo otiye no one ne yire ya eleti amanyoko no amafo ewo nsemisa ba ko mienu miensa bi ombisa ifese yetie nsemisa no nkanka se na nakuna do redraw anaso redraw ye ho anu ye ni ade beba no wi a Ekosiisen so nie ye dia ka beto also.
It's fake news. I want if you can put clarity on that for us. Secondly, you described her in your speech as more than a midwife of the NDC. Now that the former president, may he so rest in peace, is gone now, is no more with us, would you say the midwife and the mother of the NDC will reconsider her position, the position she had about the party when the co-founder, in your own words, was alive? Will she now reconsider her decision to, change her own perception and posturing towards the opposition NDC? My final question, you made allegations about the former president sponsoring videos by one Calvin Taylor to damage the reputation of the late former president. Would you mind sharing with us the evidence that you have to support this claim that you have just made on national television? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So please, no, before we proceed, there is one thing that we have to do before we come back to the questions. You know, we have our local language stations also peaking, so we have to summarize everything in our local language. That's three. Then we move to the questions. I hope we are okay. Yeah, okay. So Alhaji, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me first answer whether the flag bearer will contest. In line with tradition, you know, the very observation that somebody made, that according to whether a country, whatever, you expect a widow to bow out, you know, because of the demise of her spouse. We think that was not the case, but rather you don't subject. Politics is an active process. We do not want, you know, we've stated in our opening, in our intro, that the issue whether or not she was going to contest does not even arrive. If you know too well. But you don't also go before a widow, and carry out what is circulating in public, and have a conversation with her. So don't you worry, we all live in Ghana and we live to see. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, we said she was the mother and the midwife. I mean, nobody will contest that fact. But like you know, political parties, unfortunately, are not like, domiciles that you build, so that if the occupants are misbehaving, you just boot them out. Political party laws allow like-minded people to continue to build it up, and that is what happened. But fortunately, or unfortunately, that is the issue we are talking about now. The issue is that the late president, as the founder of the nation, is not tested. And the stability that we've enjoyed for 28 years is not also to be looked upon, as something that is of fun. It is indeed a priceless achievement for the nation. But you see, as in every ideal, you always have what you call revisionists. The revisionists may have their purpose. On the broader global scene, I will cite the case of, you remember the former Soviet Union. When the Chinese were accusing them of revisionism, they thought they were very much founded, and in fact, the same revisionism led into the collapse of a very formidable nation called the Soviet Union. So that's what we're talking about. Rawlins's ideals are impregnable and is so important to the nation. So if you have a group of people who will toy with it, just like all of us in the NDP, we do not want to glorify them. So as to whether they will come back or not, well, since there's an English word called repentance, probably, that's only where we have that possibility, if people can repent, but certainly that will require a lot of purging, and we do not want to put our head to that task. So as to whether she is going to come or not, is another question. Don't worry, the issue of the sponsoring of Kelvin Taylor or whatever, at the appropriate time we'll tell you. Don't mind at all. That is not a big deal. Thank you.
So, like I mentioned earlier on, we need a summary for our local radio stations, please.
Yeah. At the phone, more Nitia what you want say. Your mom penny that was na hokani any yen frank atuni Dr. Mrs. Nana Kunedu Ajima Rollins. Ena amase yeshia sa trofo any the ubofo eshia mui. Ni yeka nitia wane se opanyin no any Ghana bedi ni ye wakano kure ewo bibiara woyim. Ena amase ye kabi mamuo anentio a etoso nan ya ye chichiri no ho ye mamuyin esombo bebre ama sabi kan no gabati ku no papa no ba wasi ku asa na enam se ni trimu pone na dwempa a wodi di yen kan ni ntino emfie aduonu wotwe ni podpod aduonu wotwe ye nya asomdwe na obi be bisa se sa duro no de kote ni wo he sa ahamba no kote ni wo he efri ye mampanyi a wanya ne ba bi ko Jerry John Rollins adwene mu ena ene ye ba be duru ba bi ye duro yi enti no so obi etoto na se a na se kwa wo to for me ye mampanyi na akufo ado esi so kan se kofa ba ya wodi ye kabi man kabi amambuwe ba ye eye Jerry John Rollins Portugal Semikase, founder of the Fourth Republic. In the service so Oman Penyimbi, I will say, Kofa by a Fourth Republic, ye man Penyin Jerry John Rollins, na enise ye tutunase. But emom ni can say, service you, ebi mutri mupa, na omujo so omoni neni ishia, effort fudipe, any neoma keka ho nti no omo tutu na sia kopem se omo kan se wo Volta for kra bosom Volta region bosom enti no enya ade a yesum ne biem na mbom senka no kra ne se ampani ampa se yenya aibefo ana se Volta bosom ebi aba ama oman no anya asumdwe for 28 years a na mju se sa bosom na nka onfaso na mbom liti a watwa mu se bio yenim se no onya bosom ena ye bisa bio se enti ye maame a wono so wo GNDC awo wo bo aboso GNDC awo wono so no se si ani kura firi mu no obeba na emre mu no se wuti aman yekura enkrofo na ombeba mu no enti se edan a wosi a obeka se wutu na firi enti no se nipa no etwintwa awa ne obeya ne se obeja na asema amano na ne kan ne se ewiase amamma mu ha akandifo bi enya etrimupo ene asempa bi ebedi amanfo bi anim na enam se bio akitafo bi ante omo ase a omo toto sankofo no anemu no sa mamu ni nyina ebugui me disusudu ya bibi omo bi ane fe no Russia na Russia na ma no gina pa eye obi ne trimupo ne nadwen ena ne edikan enese anko ba se nipa foforo so sorry se bio no odwe ne omoman ho a enka etietia omo so nka oman no kura no nka se bi se bio akwakọ ti se baby a bibia enimo enti se oman panyin bi ba na ne trimupo eboa oman anya de ya sumdwe a yenya no emfie aduonu enwotwe no enye ade a ewo se yetutu nase na yesaka biem se yamampanyin dada ene nkofo bi di nkita ho wa brochire se yenidi mampanyin a wanya ne bibia ko na tem ene ho ne manema ai samokaya o kan se enkola bi efifirisi atenten a omuka wa echen wowo a ye friend baby with sharp teeth yamampanyin ekan ene ebibukura kan se o wo ye kraman a wo bubu no ma chechire no enti na sankrofo ya biem ebe san omo echi abeka se ejewu omo tu a na eye sebisebi o enisu a omode edada Ghana man na enam se National Democratic Party yen ye ben ye maame Nana Kunadu Ajiman Rollins ene na hukani a wafiri mu nti no ye wo enisuade hunu bi a ye ka se omutrimpo a omudi akekere oman no ye nyina ana se ye mpese obi betoto nase na emom ewose so ye hyase na anamompa ewose yetuo no ne yetu nti revolution ni baaye no sebisebio na eye ye mrantie ne mabawa a ye frɛ ye cadres ye ne tie ho gu oman nim ekekere revolution no na yenyesuahuru bebre wo enti ne ye kan se obiara wogi Rollins edie no emra ba se wodwe ho
Ekosiisen
na wo se sebisebio papa no wodi yaw ansana wo kɔ ne krachi efa wono ankasa party a wotiye aye National Democratic Congress enti no wosi nyina ye ahweye na oman no enkan kro ene nia efata se ye nyina ye boa eye no ye kabom na yebedi National Democratic Party echi because na hokani nyame adom ye bompa ye ma no se nyame entune nkwandem na aboso a ono so wabo a se sia no obepese obekekere oman no obe efensen etu franka amaye party no so no se nyame edini besiye na amagana so ediye yadamase.
Thank you very much, Alaji. Alaji, before we move on to the questions, you made a statement earlier on in relation to the fake news. By then, most of us did not get the recording. So we will be on cloud 9. If you can please make that statement again so that we can get the recording, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ekosiisen on Asempa FM.
Yeah, earlier on, I sought the indulgence of ladies and gentlemen to say that there have been some wild, very unprofessional piece of fake news, in circulation. We understand. We know that was the game of our detractors to seek to scuttle this very conference. But thanks to God, you are all here. We read as follows. Ladies and gentlemen, there was an announcement today on Kasapa FM, including Star FM, owned by Dr. Kwabena Dufour, a leading member of the National Democratic Congress, that, and I quote, the flag bearer of the National Democratic Party, NDP, Nana Akufo-Addo Adjumani-Rawlings, has pulled out of the 2020 presidential elections. That's KasapaFMOnline.com has gathered. The story continued. It's believed that the last minute consideration is linked to the demise of Akufo-Addo's husband, ex-President Jerry John Rawlings, who passed away 2 weeks ago. Reports say the NDP leader has informed the EC of her decision. Meanwhile, the party is scheduled to address a press conference later today. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, this is fake news in capital letters and should be treated as such. Our leader is grieving and should be allowed to do so in peace. Our presidential candidate has not taken any decision to pull out of the race and has not been in communication with the EC. This is just the latest of the lies that the NDC has heaped on the Rawlingses over the last decade. The question you should be asking is this: why is the NDC panicking now over the candidacy of Nana Akufo-Addo Adjumani-Rawlings? Why are they afraid now? It is the ghosts of their own misdeeds and maltreatment of the Rawlingses and the due reward that awaits them on December 7th, which is haunting the NDC. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So, thank you very much, Alhaji Frimpong. We are moving on. George, before you come in, Latif, please make it brief. Then we move on, please.
On Asempa FM.
Yeah, a follow-up question, I guess. Please, brief.
Thank you very much. So it's on the same Kelvin Taylor and the Mahama sponsorship point that you raised. You also spoke about the Ahoys and former President Mahama setting out to, like Kevin Taylor, damage the reputation of the former late president, and today are turning around to be chief mourners. Is that really the case?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let me tell you, in the book Working with Rawlings, it is a book full of contradiction, and one that was, I think, a man torn between a dilemma. And that is, he recognizes that he was brought into the limelight by J.J. Rawlings, who saw some value in him. That is one. Two, but he described J.J. as not intellectual. He described J.J. as not intellectual. And most of the time they just heeded him. But in any case, they also believed that it is his vision which was infused into the 1992 Fourth Republican Constitution that had made Ghana stable, and that they cannot deny him that. Are you getting me? So that is one. You're talking about Mama. Mama moved with JJ. He didn't understand JJ. He called him an enigma. We say no. Rawlings was not an enigma.
FM.
If you don't know Rawlings, he's one individual who exuded profuse humanity. He exuded profuse humanity. And that the hindrance of same made him act in whatever way to let it out. That is the man. So if you move with him for so many years and you do not even read into his character and you call him an enigma, you understand? There are a lot of it. So please, don't let us belabor those points. we've made our points clear, and we can go on and on and on. But I don't think we're going to stay here forever. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alaji. Alaji, me bisa mi se misano.
Ekosiisen on Asempa.
Me bisa mi se misano wa chimu.
Yeah, oh yeah. Koso.
Ye tie insemo a wabobo su nyina.
Okay, set by set is okay. Yes.
Ye tie insemo a wabobo su nyina ene sene NDP mo so openia wenya ne baby call Rollins Nunua. Na enema ben specific things ena NDP ede toto akwemu to honor the legacy of the late Rollins. Na of the late President Rollins, sorry. Na me kan ede account say sabri ya woka say NDC for any Orua Mahama ebu na nimtiabra otiase. Na onya ne baby call afina won march in honor of Rollins nena se for no. NDP for FSA and say me say essay.
Okay, meeting Eddie Raymond Kuma from Ochimai TV. The question I pese me busa your man penida that we trim you are Rollins. And now say na NDC for who say when president and what is so Hicks sense na do dan kwagu fuado. Openasem. Inti yenyanti yese ne ba ye Dr. Zinato Rollins.
Ekosiisen
omo yese NDC for yese omo me fa kwa bia so na kola no omo kana hye na me no ka say ase baby o contest ye protocol no NDC for emia no because of ne papa ne maame nti omo poso mo pushing aside yenyanti ye na NDP for mo so manya sante ye na me do so bre.
So Alaji, yeah, we can answer this set of questions, then we move on to the next set.
Good. Nyetele say, so he asked in Cree.
Yes, please.
Okay.
So answer in Cree.
Okay.
And the next set will be in English.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nyetele say, what can I say? NDP. Yenso so die ne ye efa ye mampanyia wanya ni baby ko. Sebi o ni nyuma yo a obeye ya ebe danso. Chain me fan say NDC die no. The American say, "Osha fear batu a ye komu no." Say ye titi nia amanfo franka tufo a omo aba. Omo bebre what they are coming with goodies, political goodies. Mema water every esro, mema milk, mema whey. And the issue is that and yes sufficient for leadership. Telling people, say, you know, way, no, these are not. And I want us to take a cue from those we call great leaders of this country. They don't come with political goodies. You take the case of Kwame Nkrumah. Oba can say, look, Africa must unite. I mean, as a student of politics, I would say his manifesto was Africa must unite. Now, he did it in fulfillment of that. Rollins had some kind of a compelling action. He didn't come to Guinea and say, you know, and that is leadership. He was compelled by the real instincts of leadership to catapult himself onto the political arena of this country. No buy and no social justice, integrity, probity, transparency, and accountability. This for us is commitment and competence in leadership. And in the now, not people who will turn over with other objectives, what we call the nouveau riche. Almost as and the inclination is different. Such leadership is a pretense and opportunistic, and of course revisionist. Revisionist because it's not what they are looking at. What Chiaka Kra also okay, may say. What Chiaka Kra may say. Look at a typical example. I know in 2012 when we're going to election. You have a candidate who says, "Hey, may the free SHS Beba." Maybe say, you know, that was his passion. That was what is in him. He was not in leadership. He was not in leadership. And of course, you know, others also said differently. So a constitution, the constitution says it must be gradual, it must be progressive, and other arguments say, we're talking about leadership of purpose with competence and impassioned vision. And now at least, you know, that leader who came and had no idea of what was in the past. Like when Nkrumah came and said Africa must unite, he didn't know what Ghana had in the past. In the same way, when somebody was acting on the imperative of the 1992 Constitution and says, "Hey, I'll bring free SHS," now obviously gradualist, revisionist, progressive, these are the issues that we're talking about. We're not talking about leadership or political goodies, but at least people who are committed to a cause. Fortunately, people say 1992 Constitution, yes, they want review, they want revision. The proper thing is that because we have not applied ourselves properly to the ideals of Rawlings, it is to say, you know, the 1992 Constitution is remaining into what we are called, to what I call double ended political puzzle. I'm saying so because a lot of constitutional pundits, you know, have been doing some convolution of writing legislation as to how to bring about social justice, integrity, probity, transparency, and accountability. At the other far end, how to achieve participatory democracy is because you must understand the ideals of the man. You know, 18 Americans say, if we had done that, now the heat that we generate every 4 years going into an election will end. It is more profound than just saying say ABC. So we're talking about a philosophical vision of a person, and you need a political party that understands it. It's as simple as that. Not those with nouveau-rich tendencies who will just want to be opportunists, you know, come to be revisionists of an ideal. The NDP definitely will do it differently. We are putting leadership over political goodies, and we think that leadership is sufficient in the provision of political goodies. And in the same style of President Rawlings, when he came, he didn't promise anybody political goodies. But at the end of the day, when electricity, you know, supply in the country was barely 27%, he undertook, you know, the provision of electrification in this country, you know, hitting almost 90%. 90%. These are the ideas that we are talking about. And what we are saying is that it will be very dangerous to leave this country in the hands of revisionists as far as the ideals of President Rawlings is concerned. And we are very passionate about that. And that's the NDP for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alhaji. Because of time, we have to pick our last set of questions, then we can leave. Thank you very much. So, George.
Thank you very much. Alhaji, my name is George Osinvene. I report for Pan-African TV. Initially, I was finding it so difficult to understand the correlation between your flag bearer and why you are connecting her to some response made by the opposition NDC. But with your explanation, I'm through now. Now, my question is that, don't you think this your press conference will actually spark up another debate, possibly resulting to some insult to your flag bearer, looking at the current state in which she is? That's one. Two, you are asking Ghanaians to disregard the report by our colleague from other media station, that's Star FM, about the report that they submitted. Is this your concern? Is the concern actually coming from the camp of your flag bearer or the party's position that you are asking us to reject or debunk that particular report? Because you in your submission, you did mention that you are yet to meet her and then look at what exactly is going to happen. My question, I just want to find out whether if this is coming from the NDP as a political party or from the woman herself.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me...
Alhaji, okay. Because of time, please make it brief. Okay, please.
My name is Joseph Armstrong. I work with TV3. First of all, Alhaji, let me find out from you, these words or this speech you just read to us, is it something that the former First Lady played a role in, because you said a lot of things that suggest that President Rawlings said, such as you said he cannot wait to see Mahama lose the upcoming election. And this is something that Rawlings is not here to attest to whether he said it or not. Now, let me also ask you this one, quick one. Alhaji, Rawlings believed in social justice. He stood for this country in the most difficult times when this country went through a lot. He stood for the NDC, signed with his blood, brought the NDC into being, but you left the NDC and formed a new political party. The Mahama and others that you accuse today are still with the NDC, fighting what Rawlings stood for. But you left. Now Rawlings is no more. The Mahama and Co. organized a vigil. We did not see you. We saw Rawlings' son. We saw the daughters grace that occasion. You did not show up. Are we going to see you join the NDC after December 7th election? Thank you.
Please make it brief for us.
My brother, don't take the rain out of myself. Alhaji, my name is Kojo Ajiman. I work with City News. Alhaji, I want to find out from you. You're a great politician, and for that matter, an experienced one. Between the NDC and the NPP, which one is best positioned to implement the ideals of the founder of the NDC? Number one. Number two, this campaign the NDP is on may affect the fortunes and the chances of the flag bearer's daughter who is contesting, who is seeking re-election in the Klote-Kole constituency. So if you are here declaring that NDP supporters should follow, I mean, seemingly the governing New Patriotic Party.
No.
Hold on.
No, don't.
Okay,
Don't make that mention.
Hold on. Okay, you're asking NDP followers to desert the NDC and then
come to NDP.
Good. Wouldn't this affect the fortunes of Dr. Ezenato Ajiman Rawlings? If you say the mother is your founder, and then for that matter, by and large, you want the best for her children as well.
Thank you very much. Alhaji, please, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think, okay, the two others want to, please.
You finish with the set, please.
Well, quickly, I think I've answered this one. Klote-Kole. The point is whether or not the issue of fake news was a decision taken together. NDP works as a whole. We have leadership that works with everybody. And what we're talking about is shared. Is very much shared, and it's our desire to insulate our flag bearer in this difficult moment as much as possible. The fact that we are not raising certain matters from the public with her is also trying not to increase, that burden of having to grieve and also, at the same time having to answer some of the questions that you've asked.
We have people being called the bloody widow.
Proceed. Alhaji, can you
no,
please?
No, you have asked your question.
Yes.
No, don't worry.
Alhaji, please proceed.
It doesn't matter. Yes. In any case.
Could you please?
Yes, could you, if you ask your question, it's okay. Dr. Zane's role in Klote-Kole, Klote-Kole, as far as we are concerned, does not, prevent us or stop us from giving a bigger picture as far as it concerns the country. We are talking about a constituency, but we are looking at a bigger whole of the entire country. And don't let us take it for granted, the very ideals that we have worked through, to arrive at where we are. We still have challenges in the system, just like we have said. If we apply the ideals very well, if somebody, if you're talking about NDP and NDC, certainly, if you have one idea, I think I've given you this example, between, and I like citing this example, from a geopolitical parallel. I gave you the example of China and the former Soviet Union, who accused each other of the other being revisionist. At the end of the day, we saw what happened. So the ideas must be understood. If you don't understand the idea very well and apply it, you know, you don't say that we are the same. We cannot be the same. You know, that's why we are saying that we need leadership, you know, to make the difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming. We thank you for the... Please, unfortunately, we are working with time and we have to go accordingly. And I'm saying, you should understand me also. We are working with time and our time is up and we need to move.
Look, we are working with time and our time is up. Definitely, we need to move. 11 minutes inside 3. Ekosiisen so Asempa 94.7. Mamin Kyle say the show is really packed. Unim say by 5 p.m. na ye call AMA one more new conference center na yakwakofa the first ever presidential debate in Akan. Yemi Abema Philip Osebonsu one Ekuabuachwe Yadom. And I said, you no akakudi ho chiame. Man fa na se e ma Nescafe o si sweet and creamy. Agbave and the mona soap ni mona cream ba se enye widie ni ye na ye ho so enye hwam. Ampon se fa pharmaceuticals and so our day FPAC aba and the BS tablet or Bapa Company Limited. Also cremo den Dura Plus where Dura Plus goes water flows. And Lumatrona
Asempa FM,
a trusted anti-malaria for the family. It is malaria a 3D air treatment months Lumatrona na wasamope and was a group of companies one so ekremo and then ye de Ekosiisen djumadi ebre wona quickly Obi mama mo akwa
let's say
bibia boko onim say NDP for one press conference obi ACC enyensi empo but there's a statement from the communications officer of the NDC.
Oh, okay.
Basisi na mayen twa ye homra sisi
okay.
Ye ba e beken kan statement no na mahwe ja kwan na wakọ to presidential candidate na no.
Mate.
Eti ye basisi